Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Kneon. I am here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello.
And contrary to what your average Netflix animated series showrunner might think, teens don't seem to be that interested in sex and romance in their television.
Apparently not.
That is wild because they keep pushing this to teenagers. They keep telling everybody that that's what teens want. They want to see themselves in their gender identity or whatever represented on screen, and they did a study and they're like, nah, they don't care.
They want to see more friendships or not even like gender so much as like even asexual type stuff because there's like they're over it. They're just tired of it apparently.
Well, when you're having it shoved in your face all the time on every level,
I don't know. I just thought it was interesting because these showrunners constantly are like, who's sleeping with who? What cartoon characters screw in which cartoon character and everything else, and they're just like, no, don't care.
They don't care. They don't care. So let's talk about this. Before we get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. You get a woohoo if you do.
Woohoo.
So we've talked about shipping culture before, especially in animation that's geared toward teens and young adults. Mostly that's what they claim. And, those shows in particular tend to be pretty heavy on the romance, and it's always about, and we'll talk about toxic shipping and stuff too, but they're saying, yeah, kids don't care. They don't care. According
to this study from UCLA, which is funny because it's UCLA.
Right.
Well, no, what's interesting to me is over the course of the years, they always have had shows about, teenagers' relationships. Prom has always been a thing. I mean, everybody's like, well, they ain't on prom for years. They have. I mean, I like to make fun of it because now in the animation, it's like every dang show has prom in it. But prom has been a trope they've used for years and years in teen-driven shows. But now they're saying, nope, don't really want that.
Yeah. So this is interesting stuff. The recent Teens and Screens report conducted by the Center for Scholars and Storytellers. Oh no, the Center for Scholars and Storytellers at UCLA. They had another survey out there where they basically said that everybody wants to see more diverse characters and not the same old. So take it with a grain of salt.
They how many people? They 1,500 young people. So in August of this year. So you don't know 100 teens from each age bracket taking part. And this is from California. So Who knows, how skewed this is. Just saying.
Yes. On the plus side, maybe this will help prevent teen pregnancy.
They're not wanting to do anything.
Yeah, right. Anyway, they found that 47.5% of teens and young adults aged 13 to 24 think that sex and romance are too prominent in TV shows and movies. And 51.5% want to see more content focused on friendship and platonic relationships.
But you're not allowed to do that though, because if you are friends and you are the same sex, you must be dating. And now they're trying to say like, oh, Loki and Mobius are a thing and all this other crap. Because you cannot be a friend to somebody, or if you're a friend and you care about somebody, it's because you clearly want to fuck them. But so I just thought that was kind of interesting.
Oh, no bad touch. 39% says they particularly want to see more, I don't believe this, aromantic or asexual characters.
Only 39%.
Only 39%. A near majority of those surveyed felt the romance media is overused, 44.3%. Probably, I mean, look, there are a lot of kids today, and they talk about this being socially awkward, and they're probably,
it's true.
I've noticed that people... And it seems like it goes more or the other. I mean, we always talk about how kids are over-sexualized and they're exposed to more at a younger age. But it seems to me that I think young people are delaying getting into relationships now for a number of reasons. That just seems to be the vibe I'm getting. It's like you're not... what I'm saying? It seems like if you talk to more young people, they're like not dating anybody, not seriously together with anybody, versus a couple of generations ago where you're like married by 22.
Like I've dated everybody. No.
Yeah.
So they said that the respondents closely reflected the U.S. Census in terms of race and gender. Okay, so they tried to break up that way. But they said, well, it's true that adolescents want less sex on TV and in movies. What the survey really is saying is they want more and different kinds of relationships reflected in the media. Okay, it says this, Dr. Yalda T. Uls, founder of CSS and blah, 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 in the psychology department. We know that young people are suffering an epidemic of loneliness and they're seeking modeling in the art they consume. Can confirm, I am definitely seeing that there is a huge amount of kids that are out of a pandemic. I think it's because it's an era of screens and everything else, that when they're face to face with people, they have trouble. They're always on their phone. They can't interact with others, and it's very isolating.
I think that this is all interconnected, and we'll talk a little bit about, shipping and stan culture and all that. And I think it is interconnected because I think that, a lot of people that are having problems, you never come across, and I hate to be that guy, but you never come across people that have, I would say probably very normal social interactions who are out there on Twitter constantly badgering people about ships or whatever. It seems like you look into these people and they are socially awkward. They probably are lonely. I think the shipping and that stan culture gives them a sense of identity.
But I think it is like an epidemic across the board for kids because I just noticed it. I mean, more and more as a teacher, as a parent, I've seen it over and over again, and it's a lot of disconnect. When we were kids, you were always around people. You didn't have the internet, so it was there later, but you always had to interact with people. You were taught to get along, taught to interact. They aren't taught that as well today as they were then. And especially after the pandemic, when they became even more isolated, it's even more prevalent in schools. While some storytellers use sex and romance as a shortcut to character connection, it's important for Hollywood to recognize that adolescents want stories that reflect the full spectrum of relationships. Recent studies show young people are having less sex than their parents did. Well...
Well,
not this one, but anyway, go ahead.
So look, I think that there are a lot of reasons for that. I think that, social awkwardness, and I think that even though we are closer than we've ever been, I think we're too close for comfort sometimes because of social media and because of screens and everybody being attached to their phones and whatever, it does seem like there are barriers put up and we don't see the close interpersonal relationships like we used to have. And this is, again, back to the shipping culture where anytime you have two same gender characters interacting with each other, they have to be shipped together in a romantic fashion. But the truth is, back when people had better, more normal, healthy social lives, you had male friends and female friends, whatever, opposite gender friends, and there was no sex involved. It was just like your friends. And that was it. And you could separate the two. And now it's like, no, you like this person. You're spending time with them. You must want to have sex.
Wait, this is also very interesting. Hold on a second. This is really it's not related to sex, but interesting. They said that the additional findings in the study, 50.5% of the surveyed expressed a strong or slight preference to binge watching shows compared to 25.5% for weekly episodes. Okay, but this next part. Adolescents also showed a strong preference for original content, with 56% saying they'd rather watch original movies and TV shows over remakes, franchises, or those based on pre-existing IP like a book, comic, or graphic novel.
Oh, that's interesting. So they want new stuff too. So for all this, hey, we need to reimagine.
For the new generation. They don't want your shit either.
So when we take an existing IP and we sex it up to appeal to people of a certain persuasion, and we're like, hey kids, you want this, right? You want a Shiro with more romance, more gay romance. That's what you all want, right? They're like, no, we don't want any sex and we don't want remakes of old stuff.
Yeah, and they said that, in contradiction though, they said that last year, Lives Unlike My Own were what they wanted to see was number 9, and Lives Like My Own rocketed number 2. And despite adolescent preferences for original stories, superheroes still ranked 4th among topics they like to watch. But you can still make new superheroes that aren't, the 5th movie of this superhero featured. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like it doesn't have to be the MCU or the DCU. So it's interesting.
It is, and I think the pandemic definitely is going to leave a lasting scar on these kids.
Well, that's what they talk about right here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So they said that the person who was was a member of Gen Z myself, wasn't surprised by some of what we're seeing in this year. Stephanie Rivas-Lara, Youth Engagement Manager at CSS, the first author of the study. There have been a wide-ranging discourse among teens about the meaning of community in the aftermath of COVID-19 and the isolation that came with it. Teens are looking to media as a third place where they can connect and have a sense of belonging. With the frightening headlines about climate change, pandemics, and global destabilization, it makes sense they are gravitating towards what's most familiar in these spaces. So they're looking for a sense of familiarity, friendship, and security, which is understandable, especially with kids. You know, they're still, even young adults, they're still pretty much kids.
Well, I mean,
It's scary.
There were a lot of kids that had their, like rites of passage snapped away from them because of the lockdowns. You know, they didn't get their prom, they didn't get their graduation, and that is something that they're going to feel for decades. You know,
Did AI write this article?
did it?
Well, because the paragraphs repeated again.
Oh my God, that's like the second or third time that they repeat.
See?
Yeah, it probably did.
They desire authenticity in the movies and shows they watch. This year, Mr. Beast's YouTube channel took #1 for the most authentic media, followed by series and movies including Stranger Things, Heartstopper, Barbie, and The Summer I Turned Pretty. Because they're looking for things that they can relate to, the things that they feel connected to, the things that they feel reflect themselves. They want reflections of themselves and what it's like to be a kid and what it's like, what their world is like. And they just want, because then they feel like it feels safer. It's no different than us not, you want to be entertained and you don't want to hear more political bullshit shoved at you. Like the world's scary enough, upsetting enough, you don't want more stuff. That's basically what they're saying. They're the same thing as what the adults are saying, is we just want entertainment that is more relatable and less about, franchises, reboots, and, trying to shove agenda in there. Well, not necessarily agenda, but like things that are just, going to cause more strife, politics, things that you're trying to get away from. In their case, it might be other things like pandemic and things like that, but the same idea.
Yeah, so this is just an article talking about shipping culture and all that junk, and it's interesting because you're getting two different stories here. You're getting the media, and social media tends to push, oh, kids want to ship all these characters, and it turns out to be, I think, the showrunners that basically just want to write fanfic and get paid millions of dollars for it.
And the journalists who are also they're a little bit older than that 24 cutoff.
Yes,
and they're in the the late Gen Z, early millennial. Late millennial, early Gen Z. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They're in that group, and that's what their focus is on.
And you look into it, and a lot of times, like the Raylos and stuff, and even the She-Ra stands and all that, you look into it, they're older than the target demographic. They're in their late 20s, early 30s. One of the most prominent Raylos that was out there attacking a bunch of YouTubers, including us, wrongfully, turned out she was like in her mid 30s. Mm-hmm.
That's just it. So I mean, you keep thinking they're kids, but then the real kids actually sound more mature than the adults.
Yeah. I mean, that's surprising. But given our kids' generation and their friends and stuff, it actually doesn't surprise me at all.
No,
I think Gen Z, or at least I guess would they be the younger end of Gen Z? Our kids, they seem a lot more based, a lot more grounded than the millennials that are out there.
I would say the early Gen Z, late millennials, that area. Not all the millennials. A lot of millennials are totally fine. I think the ones that were towards the end were more, like this than the earlier ones. But it is interesting to see because like everything Hollywood's doubling down on, the kid, they're trying to go after these kids. And according to the survey, now granted, it was only 1,500 kids. It's telling them that everything they're doing is wrong, which is what we've been telling them.
So I wonder though, on some level, do the studios know this? Is that why they're pivoting away from all the Tumblr animation? Beyond the fact that it's like it didn't perform, a lot of it, I'm not saying all of it, but a lot of these shows that were for quote unquote kids that were actually fanfics for the showrunners and had an audience of older people didn't perform very well. And if you're trying to get kids into it, you don't hear anybody from our daughter's generation talking about most of these shows. She's talking about webtoons and she's talking about Heartstopper. She does.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Barbie, Heartstopper, those things. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, but she doesn't talk about all the latest Tumblr cartoon on.
No, she's
Netflix.
watching Sam and Colby, do the ghost hunting, and she's watching like a lot of K-dramas and like TikTok videos and like Heartstopper and some of those other shows. That's what she's watching.
Yeah. So they missed the plot here, basically.
But Heartstopper's kind of about relationships, so I don't get that one. But Barbie was kind of about relationships, but then they end up not having one in the end, and it was okay to be friends and not be together, which I don't disagree with that. So I just thought that everything was misogyny was stupid. But anyway, I think it was an interesting look. And I think it's also very interesting to note, as I mentioned, that everything they're saying, these kids are saying, is what people like us and other YouTubers and some of you that listen are all saying the same things, and they won't listen. Maybe now they'll listen because they're going after this younger audience, and they're like, no, don't care, not interested.
Yeah, there you go. Just that maybe that's why they're so obsessed with Friends.
Well, I was gonna say, that's
Like
what I
the
was
show
gonna say.
Friends,
Yes,
not getting
right.
friends, but the show Friends.
Stranger Things, all these 80s type shows or things based on 80s and 90s culture, and like they're interested in them because they were, you had relationships in there, but a lot of it was based on friendships or like, the cool stuff of the 80s and 90s, and there was more story to it. It wasn't just, oh my God, who's sleeping with who? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that was the thing, because I mean it was different. It was different back then. And I do blame social media. I blame screens. I blame the fact that we all have phones. But we used to make actual friends. We used to have groups of actual friends, and we would go do stuff together. And most of us weren't dating each other.
I am seeing memes.
I mean,
lots of memes that people are putting out there about how like they try to talk to people and people think they're weird. And it's like, I think I did good, made a friend, and they think you're just weird. And I think it's because they're so afraid of being, not being able to interact with other people. And it's a real thing. I mean, I'm seeing it all the time. And I think it's the adults too. I think it's just a pandemic. I mean, the screens in general, but the pandemic especially changed so much. And it's so hard to connect with other people unless you're on social media. And I think that's why some people fall into these like cultist like groups on like Twitter and stuff, and they're so militant because they feel like if they have to be to stay in the group and belong. Like, it's funny, like I mentioned this on Twitter yesterday. Like, I wanted to join a gem group, right? Because I just like to find people that like the same things I do, because sometimes they might have, inside info where to get cool toys, or they might be selling something or whatever. And I joined different toy groups, and I was like, well, I'm going to join the gem group. And they told me right from the beginning, they're like, you had to answer these questions to join. And the third question was like, just so you know, this board is pro-gem movie because some of our members like the movie. So basically you have to agree to disagree and not mention it in any way, shape, or form unless you're talking about how great it is because people who are on here like it. Is that okay with you? And I said, no, that's a deal breaker. I'm not going to say I like it just to make other people feel good. But that's the whole thing. You have to be part of the group. You had to agree that since some people like it, you have to either not talk about it at all or agree that it's great so you don't upset these people.
Yeah. And
I'm like, that's the internet in a nutshell. I'm like, have you met me? No, I'm not going to say it's good. Anyway, and I told him, I said, oh, yes, it's a deal breaker. I'm not joining your group. Bye. I actually posted that. So, yeah, I'm just like, you have to go along with the group to be a part of the group, because if you go against the group, you'll be excluded. And then you're already isolated anyway. These are the closest thing you have to friends. You don't want to be excluded again. And I think that's easy to control people. I think that people that are bullies and people that want to be in power can control people easily. It's like Mean Girls, the online board, because you want to be part of the group and you don't want them to be mean to you and exclude you. So you can control through fear.
It's hard when they come at us because I don't like people.
It doesn't work on Kneon.
It doesn't work on me
at all.
It doesn't. Even those closest to me. And I'm sorry for that, but yeah, I just like I don't.
Are you talking to me or other people?
I'm talking to anybody. It doesn't like the whole.
I mean, who's closest to me? You go, sorry for that. I'm like, were you talking about me?
Yeah. So yeah, it doesn't really work on me because I've never been a joiner. I don't need to be part of a group. I don't need people's affirmation. I really, truly do not give a shit what you think about me.
And he's not kidding. He means me too.
So. I'm sorry. So when you get these people that is their worst fear is somebody's going to think bad things about me. I think
it's more. It's not that they're going to think bad things. It's like if I say the wrong thing, they're going to think bad things and kick me out of the group. And if I don't have friends in real life, the only thing I have are these online groups, which is why we see the cult like mentality, I think, on social media, and it's more in younger people. And I think that's because like people that are older, especially Gen X, we're just like, we're used to, like, we had to make friends.
We were latchkey kids.
Yeah,
we don't give a shit.
A lot of times by ourselves. We're like, fuck you, don't care.
We don't give a shit.
But then you get like these people that just, that are already isolated, they're already struggling. I think there's a huge increase in mental health issues that aren't being addressed. And there's a huge increase in like, suicidal behaviors and things like that, which as a mom and a teacher, upset me greatly. And I don't even know what the solution is, but I think the internet and isolation is a big part of it.
Yeah, and anyway, you can have a lot of quote unquote friends and still be very, very alone.
Right, because they could be on a lot of them not even in person, or
Yeah.
or they're always busy. I don't know. Doesn't matter. The point is, kids want things about friendships and stuff, and it could just be so that they could learn how to be better friends with people. Like I said, modeling. It could just be because then maybe they feel like if they have those shows that they're somehow part of that group and they feel like a sense of belonging. I don't know. I'm just kind of getting off the topic here, but it's interesting though because there's so many kids that want to see things that relate to them or they feel like reflect them. Because I think that makes them feel better and that they might have something to base friendships on or they feel like they're more connected. And that's okay. If it makes them feel better and gets them through the day, that's fine. But it's interesting because it's everything that Hollywood is not doing.
So we're going to wrap this up.
Yep.
Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. We'll talk later.
Bye.